It's a bit hard to know which way to go at the moment with the videos. The more I try to tell you things about what's going on in life, the more YouTube crunch down on the channel, and I've basically made it so that, you know, even a year ago my views were much higher than they are now, and they're just killing off, and it's up to the channel to share the videos, etc. because, you know, I do quite a lot of sharing and I don't know what to say really. And then you think, well, I put one out about Kamalia and hardly anybody watched that, so that one I thought maybe no one's interested in her, but I still wonder whether they'll make her president, because that would annoy everybody, wouldn't it? And they love to annoy us. But anyway, I was looking at this a little bit because it's just so hard when you know it, because I wanted to look up, was there 3 pyramids at Silbury Hill? And of course the state version of it is that it is not a pyramid, when it is completely obvious that it is. People who've been in it, they know it is some sort of pyramid. Maybe it's not like exactly like the Great Giza, maybe it doesn't have a fire in it, but it's like the other ones. But anyway, it's supposed to be older than, well, it's the same age actually, I think, as the other ones, but I was told it's older. So after the little festival we went to Silbury Hill, and I've made a video about this which is on the shorts video because I just don't understand this phenomenon. So he gave me this lovely day down by the canal and I loved it, and then he took me to one of my favourite places, which is Silbury Hill, and you're in the car park, and I said on my little 1-minute video, you've got this sign here, and then that is probably about 200 yards, and the pyramid is that size. Look at it, it's gigantic. It's supposed to be a step pyramid, but anyway, gigantic. But then when you walk to the hedge here, just going through the pictures, when you walk to the hedge, getting there, it looks like that. That's that hedge. So when you're looking here, this is this, and now the pyramid's over there. How can you at the car it's this big, and then when you're at the fence it's that big? How does that happen? So anyway, that's us driving on the road, so you can see that we are probably a little bit, well, I suppose maybe it looks like we're a little bit closer than there. That's 200 yards to the fence pyramid, and then we're at the fence pyramid. How can it be much bigger back here at the car park than when you're standing at the hedge? And it's really crazy because in here comes this 9000 years, and so that's really crazy considering I made a video yesterday, which I'll show you in a moment, that this big catastrophic event happened then. But anyway, just let the video play out. Thanks very much. And the little bit of information from both these channels, go and watch their whole videos. Thank you very much to those creators. Anyway, let's just play the little video.
In 1972, a shocking study came out, claiming that between 35,000 and 65,000 years ago, a genetic bottleneck had occurred in humans, meaning that something had caused the population of humans to reduce so much that it extensively limited our genetic diversity today.
So I've been reading an article in Nature about how human ancestors in Africa nearly went extinct around 900,000 years ago. So this is a paper published in Science, and it talks about how the entire population of our ancestors...
And that's if that's real, because they seem to keep changing history all the time. They haven't made this one into a pyramid, but they change history all the time. I mean, there it's related to King Sil. It's like, no way have they ever found a body in there. Oh, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? What they've got to do. So, but I looked that up. So I think Stonehenge is older. And then there's another one here about Avebury, and I think Avebury's older than Stonehenge. There it is, I'm getting there. So Avebury is 800 years old, was built 800 years earlier than Stonehenge, so older. So that's quite incredible, isn't it? You know, and you know, maybe they made the stones there, or if they're hauling that amount, these stones are really heavy. Anyway, that one is 131 feet tall. And yeah, 100, and then the Great Giza one, Great Pyramid, is 481 feet high, so it is quite a lot taller, but that pyramid is quite tall. And then on the news, look at that, they're gonna cut, you know what, like, Labour is supposed to stand for the people, and when you've been given payments for winter fuel, when you know that the prices have gone up so high and a lot of people are struggling, and they know people are going to food banks, and heating is one of the most important things that you've got, the new Labour government, it says 50 MPs are going to rebel over the cut to winter fuel allowance. I don't know how anybody thought the Labour Party were going to come in and save anybody. But anyway, yeah, didn't you know things like that were going to happen? Yeah, people will hate this government worse than the last one, with that stupid Keir Starmer. Anyway, this one says that a new discovery in the ancient cave could change Mallorca's history. Mallorca's history. It's Mallorca's history. No, Mallorca. It's Mallorca, I think. Mallorca. It's not Mallorca, is it? It's Mallorca. I think they mean the other one, but anyway, pointing out that there's this bridge under the water that's now very old. So the dog's snoring again. So anyway, there's the 6,000 years. And I'm just going to show you in a video I did yesterday that this great big catastrophic event happens then. And that's quite crazy, isn't it? Because now, instead of, you know, a lot of, when you talk about history and they look back at things, they'll always say it's 4,500 years old. For anything, it's stamped. If it's older, it's 4,500 years old. But now, they're talking of this figure of 6,000 years. But anyway, they never really tell you that much, by the way. But anyway, and then we're back to, yeah, we're looking at some pictures. Maybe we're just moving on. There's a bit more information. Of course, these stones have come a long way. They've managed to, you know, on probably less than horse and cart, because they wouldn't have had a wheel like, you know, we have today, or like in the so even say like the cowboy and western times. When you think of that, they're not going to have that then, are they? So how did they bring these stones down? Yeah, it's all incredible. So they had to be quite high tech if they did that. But who knows? Because those things are a lie. But I'm just showing you what they're showing on the internet. But of course, it won't show that the pyramids, you know, Silbury Hill is a pyramid when it is. I've got a book in my bedroom. Person who's been in it says it's a pyramid. Yeah, a bit more information. Floss is snoring over there. I'm going to boot her one in a minute. Stop it. Yeah, she can't help it. She's old, I suppose. But, yeah, she has to snore even with her eyes open. She's got her eyes open. She's looking at me and she's still snoring. That's Floss for you. But anyway. Comes down from Scotland, these stones. Altar stones. And you're like, wow, what a load of rubbish. But anyway, they like doing that, don't they? But anyway, I just thought I'd make this little video. And thanks for watching. You know, it's crazy, the place we live in, and all the lies and the wrong history. I would just love to know the truth about things. Was there a third pyramid? There's one in Marlborough College. Now they admit that that is a pyramid. But they can't admit that Silbury Hill is one, because a lot of people don't realise that there is a pyramid in Marlborough College. Because unless you know it's there, even though you drive past it, and if you look to the left as you were driving past, you'd see it. Where do most people look? They're not looking, are they? We know people aren't looking. So a lot of people don't realise that there's this mound in Marlborough College, and it's a pyramid.
Metre-high mound has a substantial covering of trees, surrounded by rampant undergrowth. But 4,000 years ago, was it an important landmark? And if so, how was it used? Marlborough's own prehistoric mound has been described as a little sister to the world-famous Silbury Hill, just a few miles away.
It contains the largest stone circle in the world, that at Avebury, which is in a gigantic bank and ditch, and near it Silbury Hill, which is the largest prehistoric mound in Europe. The River Kennet flows around it, and downstream you find the Marlborough Mound.
But archaeologists from English heritage have been digging deeper.
What we know about these monuments is that they are absolutely integrally linked to water. Water was important, and clearly they are located here because of the water. Silbury Hill is located at the very start of the River Kennet. Marlborough Mound, again, right beside the River Kennet in a low-lying area, and it's surrounded by springs. There aren't just one spring, there are a number of springs here.
Set up in 2000, the Mound Trust began its work with a period of research and investigation, clearing the ground of debris in the process.
The college water tank was on the top of the mound, which was a pretty horrible, like a swimming pool up there really, an ugly excrescence. So we got that removed because the college had an alternative water supply. And then we took down a brick pillar, and then we began planning for the future and beginning to think about the restoration of the shell grotto, but we didn't have any money. And we began to think about the danger of the trees on the mound and what we wanted to achieve.
In the 18th century, Lady Hertford, a personal attendant to Queen Caroline, the wife of King George II, cut a grotto into the side of the mound. Later used as a bike shed, it's now in urgent need of restoration.
Right, I've got it. Yeah, okay. But they don't need to do anything. The grotto is very much an 18th century feature, 1730s. We need to stabilise it. There is some movement on the brickwork vaulting.
The mound is a remarkable historical feature which has been systematically ignored by the people who've owned the site, the school, since 1843. And actually, to be fair to the college, it was ignored for the previous 100 years as well because it was a coaching inn, and the mound provided nothing more than an amusing garden feature which was not well looked after from 1740s onwards. And I suspect that the chapel may even have been built by the Victorians where it was to hide this awful pagan secret.
From being the site of a Norman castle, the castle buildings passed from monarch to monarch. Gradually falling out of favour and into disuse, they were eventually given over to the Seymour family.
Henry VIII had a wife, Jane Seymour, who died in childbirth, but she managed to give him a son, Edward, and in gratitude he gave her family the land here and Marlborough Mound.
Myth-making also features in the story of the mound. Known in popular imagination as Merlin's Mount, the mound acquired a reputation for being the very place where Merlin was buried. Now, the prehistoric mound has become part of that educational resource.
I don't think there's any place in this country that has such an extraordinary history, from massive, mysterious Neolithic building to Norman castle to royal residence to stately home of Seymour family, grand coaching inn with an illustrious history, and then a school which has become one of the most fascinating places in the country in terms of the history of education. The mound is one of the largest man-made mounds in Europe. It's not too silly to say that it's almost one of England's pyramids. It's something which is of huge historical and archaeological value, and that is something that the young ought to know about.
If you look at a lot of the castles, so say Arundel, Dover, Windsor, there's more. But they all have these mounds in them. We're just going to hear what this person says, because obviously there was a castle there. But when you look at it, it isn't very big. They've done this with Donington. And when you look at that, you think that this is a great big, huge castle. Look, there's even a whole house in there. There's a whole house in there. Well, or is that the grotto? But look at it. It's just absolutely enormous, but the mound is big, but it's not that big. So if the building on the top is bigger than this, there had to be little sheds and things. Because look at the size they're making it, but this isn't as big as Silbury Hill. It's still a big mound, you've seen in the video, but it's not that big. And then they're saying, but it's too big to be a motte, whatever it is they have in the castle, so they can stand on and look out. It's just too big. And yeah, but don't think it's crazy. This is what they do at Donington. Look, I'll show you. Now this is Donington Castle, but again, when you're there, you realise that it's only about the size of a small church. It's not that big. That is not that big. Church size, but not a big church, just a church size. But look how they've drawn this. Look, they're making it look like these are stories high and this is a great big place, but it's only that big. When you're standing there, this is not very big. It's not very big at all, but look, and it's a star fort, an old star fort. But look how they've made the castle look. It's only that big.
Nigel Bryant dispels the idea that Marlborough's mound could have begun life as a Norman motte and castle.
There are two very good reasons for going to Oxford Castle, and the first is the mound behind me. Because that mound is the motte of the Norman castle that was built here at Oxford, just as there was a Norman castle built at Marlborough. And before recently, when the mound was definitively dated as being Neolithic, 4,500 years old, some people said, but it could just as easily be medieval, maybe the Normans built it for their castle. That never seemed terribly likely, and when you come here and see that, you realise how unlikely it is, because it's nothing like as big as the Marlborough Mound. And why would you go to all that trouble of building a mound that size just to put a keep on top?